Hello, everyone. Good to see you. I'm LaFontaine Oliver, and I have the absolute pleasure of serving this organization and this community as the president and CEO of New York Public Radio. And I want to thank all of you for joining us here today in the Jerome L. Greene Performance Space, which I like to think of as the physical manifestation of WNYC's mission. It's a gathering place to animate our work with the magic of the live encounter, and a space for the city to come together, to be inspired, and to be moved. And I think you all are in store for some movement today. I don't think that I could imagine a better example of that than tonight's event. An opportunity to bring together WNYC's best and brightest. A big shout out to the incredible Michael Hill, please, round of applause. Along with all of you, our listeners and our supporters, for a celebration of Poetry Month in what is most definitely the most poetic of places in the world, the most poetic city, I think. And I think they asked me to deliver remarks because of the fact that I'm named after a famous poet. And so I am especially interested in tonight's program. I'm going to ask you, just as a housekeeping note, please silence your cell phones before we get started. Now, I'm going to hand things over to Michael Hill in just a bit, but I could not pass up the opportunity to share just a few words about WNYC and the big year that we have ahead. I have dedicated my career to working in public media because I believe with every fiber of my being that there is no better democratic format to produce and distribute journalism and cultural programming that meets audiences where they are and helps to heal what I believe to be a very divided nation and a divided community. And as we all know, we are certainly going to need a lot of that healing as we approach the election season in 2024. And things have gotten, I think, pretty hot and heavy already. And the media industry is also facing some pretty stiff headwinds. I don't want to get too serious here because tonight is really about celebration. It's about beauty. It's about inspiration. It's also about creativity. So I will not veer us too far into the challenges ahead. We want to keep this an exciting moment and an opportunity for us all. So I do want to say a couple of other things. WNYC is going to be turning 100 in July. Yes. Somebody break out the Smucker's jar for us. So 2024 is going to be a big year in many ways. We are taking the opportunity of the centennial not only to celebrate the towering legacy of WNYC, so think about a look back at our history, but also to chart a pathway forward, hopefully for another 100 years of service to this wonderful and diverse community. I want to say, if you are already a supporter of WNYC, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. You are the public in public radio. We simply could not do what we do without you and your support. Your generosity makes all of our work possible. If you are not already a supporter, what are you waiting on? What are you doing? Are you waiting for the next pledge drive? You know you do not have to wait for a pledge drive, right? We know how much folks love the pledge drives. But no, if you are not a supporter, you are already supporting us by being here today. So thank you for showing up and being a part of this. But we could use more supporters. So please join us, become a member at any level, whatever makes sense for you and your household. We need your support. You need us, and you probably need another tote bag or another coffee mug. So, all right. I am going to turn things over to Michael Hill, but thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your love and your support.
Good. Another big hand for our CEO and President, LaFontaine Oliver. Good evening and welcome to our first ever Poetry Night live. This is an experiment and we are all guinea pigs here tonight. But we're glad that you're here and we're glad that we can do this. We have some really great guests lined up. Does anybody here have a box of tissue or any tissues or a handkerchief or anything? Yes. You may need it tonight. That's how good and how meaningful and how poignant the poetry is that you're going to hear tonight. I had a chance to hear some of it earlier, and it is, as you may know, I host Morning Edition on WNYC. Do all of that. Every April, as you know, we mark Poetry Month on our air by inviting listeners and poets from around the region to come on with their work, to read it on the air. It's been a wonderful tradition, and tonight we're so excited to invite some of them and some of our favorites to come up here and to share their poetry live with you tonight. We'll also be joined by Caridad de la Luz, who performs as La Bruja, the executive director of the famous Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and we're so excited to have the rapper and producer Odyssey, so it should be a fun night all together, and once again, we are ecstatic that you have joined us tonight in the Greene Space. So thank all of yourselves. A nice round of applause to yourselves tonight for making this work. Our first poet is also the first ever Bronx Poet Laureate. Heydil Jadil Enriquez is an Afro-Dominican arts program educator and cultural worker. She is the NYC Scholastic Art and Writing Awards manager, board president of the Literary Freedom Project, and college and career pathways teaching artist at BAM. Her debut poetry collection received an award by Get Fresh Books Publishing and will be out spring of 2025, perhaps for the next round of Poetry Month. Congratulations, Heydil, and come on up stage, please. How are you? Get right here. Heydil, I have to ask you a couple of questions here. When you came on the show a couple of years ago, you told us that writing poetry in middle school for you, and you focused prominently on the Bronx. Tell us why.
Well, it's what I was seeing around me. My poetry is an exploration of my identity and home, my transnationalism, and I think the Bronx embodies all of that. It's a place where new things are created, a place of possibilities.
Well, you have two poems for us, right?
Yes, I do, Michael.
The stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
This piece is called How to Save Yourself, Divine. When the sun reminds you once again you are a fatherless daughter, gather all of your limbs, pores, grief, drag, if needed, out the bed, onto the floor, towards the kitchen, where you were taught to make yourself whole. Boil water, steep buttermilk peppermint tea, add honey and a love note. Don't add whiskey. Rather burn your tongue and sink into the numbness. Remind yourself, daughters of warriors do not bend or break, divine. They dive. I like to call this my teenager poem. This is my teenage baby. It's called Alabanza. I wrote it over 13 years ago. Praise the fiery cardinal rising past your windowsill on Wednesday mornings before the sun wakes. Praise the clutter of the two-train riding uptown, the kickety-rack-racks of metals colliding, kickety-rack-racks making music, kickety-rack. Praise yesterday, dreamt of the nights you'd slide underneath your parents' covers. Listen to your father snore, monstrous noises escaping his gullet. Imagined it to be Pandora's box, releasing demons amalgamated with leftovers. Lay in your college dormitory, miss your father's way of inhaling the world, then meticulously exhaling his own version. Praise the scholastic books you got in the second grade. Those bubbly Bibles of printed parables convert housing projects into magic tree houses. The dim-lit hallways were caves, the mission a way through. Praise your mother's voice, the orchestra stationed in her throat, applying mascara by the chipping bathroom sink, singing Ana Gabriel under her breath. Praise the imagined fiery cardinal swooping by your window, backlit by reaching red rays. Praise your grandfather's heartbeat, the way it hammers onto his chest 66 times per minute. Praise your fingers, their promised diabetic gene, their jittery dance, the way they coalesce when your thoughts surpass their speed limit. Praise the calluses they await and the words coming out of them. Praise your MetroCard, the guarantee of an adventure with a promise to find home. Praise the spirit nestled in your hair. Praise your little sister's eyes. Those two moons got lost in his back pockets. Praise you, praising these reflections of living. Praise those gates you call ribs, extracting and lung knocking with every breath. Praise these breaths. Thank you.
So beautiful. One word. Wow. Our next guest, as promised, is a middle schooler. We first met Aiden Amadi when she came on the air with us in 2021. She was just 9 years old then. Even then, we were totally blown away by this kid, and we're so happy she's back with us tonight. A big round of applause for now 12-year-old Aiden Amadi. Come on up. Aiden, I wanted to ask you something. Last time we talked, you told us your plan was to grow up to be a lawyer and a judge and the president. Right? Still your plan? Are you campaigning by any chance? Okay, good. I think you're going to have some votes out of here tonight. I understand you started a business.
Yes, I have.
What kind of business?
A lip gloss business?
A lip gloss business. I can see that. When did you start that?
Last year.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. Give it up for 12-year-old Aiden.
My poem is called Black Is. Black is beautiful. We wear crowns of brown. Our complexions are canvases of diverse shades. Black is stellar. We go beyond the stars. Black is heroic, fighting for their rights as well as others. Black is royal. We descend from a line of African royalty. But Black is also targeted. Victims of racial discrimination, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, even Tamir Rice, who died just a little older than I. Black is protest. It's shouting, marching, hands hoping to reach the sky. Black is powerful. Fists in the air fighting for Black lives. Black is freedom, chains breaking. Black is hope. Black is brilliant, and black is me.
That was beautiful, Aiden. That was beautiful. Another hand for Aiden, please. Our next guest is a Marine Corps veteran. For many years after college, she was an artist, then became an art teacher until she retired in 1999. Now a published poet, she's the author of 6 poetry books and was Nassau County's Poet Laureate from 2019 to 2022. Please welcome Evelyn Candell. Evelyn, we're so glad you could join us tonight. I have a question to ask that I'm not supposed to ask ever, even as a journalist. May I first ask Evelyn how old you are?
Well, I'd like to say I'm 50, but I'm 91.
Wow. So you have seen some things, we should say.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that you've been featured on both a billboard in Times Square and a U.S. postage stamp. Now, Evelyn, you have to tell us about that.
Okay. Well, both were as a Marine. I was 18, had just graduated from high school, and I was living with a foster family, and I was bored with my job, and my foster aunt said, you know what I'd do if I were you? I would join the service. Now, in 1950, that kind of wasn't done for women, but I said, yeah, okay. And 2 friends had graduated, joined the Marines. I said, I'm joining the Marines. And I did. And I have to say, modestly, I was really pretty. Therefore, my first duty station was Washington, D.C., and I just kind of arrived at the commandant's office, and some photographer went, you. So I was. I was on posters with the other 3 women, service women. We were on a postage stamp, and I've got a brag book like this full of photographs, so, yeah.
That's great. Well, we had you on Morning Edition back in 2021, and at that time our theme was Emerge, and back then we were really, as a society, we really were truly emerging as people were coming out of the COVID and coming out of their shells and so forth. So it feels like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does.
It really
does.
does. Well, Evelyn, we're so happy you're here. So please, without any further ado, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I do teach poetry to adults. 2 of my students are 100 years old and writing incredible poetry. And of course, poetry, as you know, touches all bases. So I'm going to read 2 poems. One is sad and one is funny. Okay. The Last Touch. When I walk in the world through the city streets, without your steps beside me, I pass loneliness lurking behind a door into our dark house. If I open that door, I find only still, empty rooms where once there was your laughter, filling my ears and heart. Now I live with shifting memories and cannot bring your face into focus. Sounds of comfort blur and fade, and gone the last touch of your hand. Okay, turning the page. If only. If only I were 30, or at least had purple hair. If only I were funky to make someone stare. Things would be different. I could celebrate being in. With a hot beach tan, not this pale complexion. With my fine poem sparked with disaffection. With every lilting vowel inflection, if only I could be blogging or be reading on YouTube. If only I were indifferent with a contemptuous attitude. If only my poems were posted on the web, filled with lines so fun and flirty, even a tiny bit dirty. If only I were 30.
Watch this go. Another hand for Evelyn, please. How's everybody doing tonight? All right, all right, all right. I want to take a quick few minutes here to thank the folks here at the Greene Space for doing an amazing job, again, of organizing an event on behalf of WNYC. Give it up for them. This is, they really make it happen. I also want to acknowledge my Morning Edition team, too. Our engineer and board operator, Milton Ruiz, who couldn't be here tonight, but he's one of the board operators, along with Mayan back here and Matt and some of the other ones, that people keep talking about the music on Morning Edition. And people come to me and say, Michael, what's your playlist? Michael, how do you choose the music? And I say, Michael has nothing to do with it. It's Milton, it's Matt, it's Mayan, it's Shayna, it's all of them who do this because we all love music. So thank you for listening and thank you for enjoying the music. And we hope at some point, as I'm talking to Mayan tonight and Milton again and others, people keep asking us for a playlist. So we're going to have to do something about that. Our producers in the morning, and I have, as a journalist, almost no words to describe the people I work with every day, our producers. They are fearless, they are tireless, they work day and night to get us the greatest content in interviews and scripts and everything so that we could inform and even in the morning to a certain extent entertain the public. Let me introduce them to you. Producers Veronica Del Valle. Please stand. Amanda Rosson. Let me tell you a little bit more about Amanda. Amanda has only been here on Morning Edition at WNYC. I think she just celebrated her first anniversary working here. Just did. As a new member of the team and looking at the tradition of Poetry Month in April, Amanda said, oh, this is great. And then Amanda thought, we have an entertainment space under the New York Public Radio umbrella. Why don't we use it for Poetry Month? Amanda is the reason we're here tonight. And under all of that in the morning, we have a quarterback. She doesn't play football, she doesn't like sports. But she's our quarterback. She calls the plays and she is terrific at this. And nothing gets past her. Alec Hamilton, our senior producer. These folks get up as early as I do, and they're working on Morning Edition, and they're not just working on Morning Edition in the morning. They're working on Morning Edition throughout the day. So on Monday, when typically the show is done at 9 o'clock, we have other duties to do until noon or so, they're working beyond noon to get us content. That's how dedicated they are to Morning Edition. So I have to say, thank you, team. Thank you. And here tonight is WNYC's editor-in-chief, Audrey Cooper. And sitting next to her is Cole. You didn't expect that, did you, Cole? Good. And Raji Vikram, back here, our editor for magazine shows and newscasts. I mentioned Mayan is there, and I see some other colleagues back here as well. I can't see you in the dark, but I know I have some other colleagues back there as well. So thank you all for coming. Yes. Let's get back to our show. Our next poet is someone who submitted a poem as a listener back in 2022 and knocked our socks off. Really did. So much so that the next year we invited her to come back onto the show and on the air. Dee Faye Anderson is a Brooklyn resident, writer, and performer. She describes herself as a writer, reader, educator, jazz head, composer, theater, and film artist, and says in her last life she was a vaudevillian and blues shouter. Dee Faye, come on up. Now, Dee Faye, I have to ask you, I've heard of a lot of titles in my life, but I've never heard of a vaudevillian blues shouter.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, oh yeah, what?
Well, as a vaudevillian, I was a tap dancer,
All right.
and then I would sing the blues or shout the blues in my last life.
In your last
In
life.
the last life, yes.
And in this life, you're a poet, a jazz head,
Oh,
a composer.
love jazz, yes, yes, yes.
Who's your favorite artist?
Come on. Vocalist Betty Carter, Abby Lincoln, Aminata Moseka. Yes, those two come to mind immediately.
All right, all right, all right. Well, we are interested, very interested in having you perform for us live here in the Greene Space. We love to having you on the air, so the stage is yours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to tell you the genesis of this poem. I grew up during the time when Motown was at its height, and I loved Motown music, Smokey Robinson, the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Supremes. I wanted to be a Supreme when I was a little girl. And the other genesis is that I was also, when I was about 13 years old, a very long, lean, skinny, gangly freshman. And I didn't have a lot of guys winking and blinking at me, right? So I went to a house party, and I'm sitting over with my friends. Nobody's asked me to dance. And an older guy, a senior, came over and asked me to dance. And he was one of the cool seniors. You know, he wore nice slacks and sweater. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then he came and asked me to dance again. So you know my confidence was really boosted. And I have to say, he was a perfect gentleman. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing inappropriate. So that's the genesis of this poem, which is called Homework. At a party, in the back in the basement, in a space in the dark, past the coats near the dryer. At my best friend's mother's, girlfriend's brothers, nephews, new wives, husbands, cousins, play sister's house. On the riff and ride of an old school jam, me and Angel measured the sweetest distance between 2 points in a corner. Quietly, quietly, intersecting planes and surfaces, we circumvented gravity. We plotted our passions, slowed and protracted the swing and the axis. We did it in our heads first. We rounded off the squared places. Ron Isley and Luther, whispering indivisibles, we multiplied and carried over, mastering tongues and calculus. In the pitch and promise, we displaced galaxies and conjugated. Charting heaven in each rotation, raising choruses and congregations, we gave flesh and blood to rhythm and time, caught up in the riff and ride. We raised dynasties and nixed factions. We danced with thunder. We ran with scissors. We anchored the intangible and chased the infinite within the incredible circles. We made splendid magic in the dark, near the dryer. Thank you.
Wow, our imaginations, huh? Another hand there for D-Fay. Next up, I'm excited to introduce Caridad de la Luz. She's a renowned spoken word artist who performs as La Bruja and the executive director of the iconic New Yorican Poets Cafe. The cafe has been around for more than 40 years, connecting the community to poetry, music, and much more. They've been hosting pop-up events around the city while their physical space in the Lower East Side, as you know, as we've reported on WNYC, is undergoing a major renovation. Caridad earned an Emmy in 2022 as a scriptwriter for the cultural short feature Legacy of Puerto Rican Poetry. She was honored as a Bronx Living Legend by the Bronx Music Heritage Center and named Top 20 Puerto Rican Women Everyone Should Know. Caridad, thank you for joining us and welcome back to the Greene Space. Come on up. There you are. How are you? Thank you, thank you. Good to have you, good to have you.
Thank you.
You began your career as a spoken word artist at New Yorican back in 1996.
That's correct.
I'm
when
really
I
curious.
wrote my name on an open mic list to spit.
How did you get started?
Well, I actually started reciting poetry as a little girl when I was 3, 4, and 5 because my great-grandmother taught me how to recite poetry. Even though she didn't know how to read or write,
Wow.
she knew how to recite.
How was that possible?
I don't know. She was in her 90s. I don't know.
Wow.
She just had this memory of gold. And luckily, my grandmother took care of us at the same time. So,
Right.
You know, she took care of her mother and her granddaughter at the same. So me and Mama is what we called her. You know, we sat in the living room and shared a couch. And I would trace her veins while she would tell me stories and poems. And it was planted.
Wow.
That poetry was planted in there. So I was doing open mics in my living room at 3.
New Yorican has been touring its popular poetry slams at different venues because the site there is closed. What do you notice about the spoken word and the spoken word community today?
Well, when I started in 96, you know, spoken word and hip hop were together.
Right.
You know, now it seems that it's gotten more specific, you know, it's specified. But back in the day, it kind of felt more blended, like it was one and the same.
One and the same.
Yeah. But the slams have continued. We've been, the New Yorican Poets Cafe got a $24 million grant.
Great, yeah.
So, you know, the building is going to be restored. We've been functioning out of the bottom 2 floors for all of this time. It's a 50-year-old institution. We're trying to be like WNYC and be 100 years old.
There you go.
But we're ushering into the next 50 years with a brand new building that should be done in 2026.
That's fantastic. Good. Now, as we said, the construction is already underway, $24 million renovation. And what's changing there, and how much of the history of the Poets Cafe is going to be preserved?
Well, the bricks are iconic, and it's a 100-year-old building. It's a 100-year-old tenement building, and it's had different incarnations, but this renovation project is also a restoration project. So the bricks and the facade will remain, and the rest is going to be gutted. And then we'll be able to use all 5 floors, and instead of 1 theater, we'll have 2 theaters, an elevator, a garden, and all these amazing things. But I was mentored by the founders. They were family to me. And so I remember what was important to them, what the mission was. So I'm gonna make sure to stay true to preserving that, and then the bricks will do the rest.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I'm sure I'm thinking what they're thinking. We want to hear you. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is not a deep poem, but not all poetry has to be deep, right? This is kind of a jazzy thing to me, and this poem is about 20 years old, and it's called New Yorker for WNYC. I'm a New Yorker, I love New York. Busy town, above and underground. I emerge from the 6 train, 51st Street and Lex. As I walk across to the west side, I pass Radio City and dream of performing there. And Carnegie Hall comes to mind too, yeah. All those fancy places, Winter Garden had cats, now it's La Bruja on Broadway. Twisted musical. I dance a cabaret number that turns to a furious flamenco and disappear into gypsy dust. I resurrect in St. Patrick's Cathedral and sing the highest note my vocal cords can release. Amen. And our women too. Times Square still has some of them 25-cent peep shows, but the boobs are sticky. You got change for this? I pull out a ball of lint. Had to ask, 'cause some people feel like giving if you ask them at the right time. Like that time I was on the 2 train. This lady limped in on a twisted foot, holding a cup with a twisted hand, begging for money through a twisted mouth. I pulled out a twisted dollar and gave it to her. She drooled out a, "God bless you." And I felt good. I got off at Simpson Street, and so did she. She jumped over the turnstile and ran down the steps. And there she went with my last dollar. I'm a New Yorker. I love New York.
Oh, that was beautiful. One more time for Caridad. That was great. Our next guest is also a listener who sent in a poem last year when he was in high school, and we were captivated. Tino Garcia Gross attended the drama program at LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts. Now he's off to college at USC School of Cinematic Arts, pursuing a major in writing for screen and television. So we are lucky to get him back to New York for this special night. Tino, come on up. How's college going?
College is going great. I'm loving my classes. My professors, they're all wicked geniuses at what they do.
But you miss New York, right?
Oh, absolutely. New York's the best. And anytime anyone asks me LA or New York, it's gotta be New York. It's where I'm
You're
from.
making friends, huh? Well, Tino, we're excited you're here. We love your poetry. The stage is yours.
Right. This first piece is called Icarus and Narcissus. I fell. I fell into myself. I fell into myself, and I was surprised when there was no one there to catch me. I fell into myself, and I was surprised when no one was there to catch me, and I stayed down. I fell into myself, and I was surprised when no one was there to catch me, and I stayed down, and I searched. I fell into myself, and I was surprised when no one was there to catch me, and I stayed down, and I searched for a reason not to get back up. He told me everything I needed. He told me everything I needed, and I didn't listen. He told me everything I needed, and I didn't listen because I never listen. He told me everything I needed, and I didn't listen because I always listen. He told me everything I needed, and I didn't listen, and I don't know why. He told me everything I needed, and I didn't listen, and I fell. And I slammed into the reflection, and I hit the water, and the ripples of the lake echoed out. And I became one with the maze of the ocean floor. For a moment, I wondered if he would care, if she was there. But then the water calmed, and I found myself again, and I disappeared. This next piece is called Take My Mind. Over the month of November, I tried to write a poem every day. They weren't good, but I was writing them for myself. I didn't want anyone else to have any look at it. So you have to imagine my horror when I figured out that it was in a shared notes app with my parents. It's off of there now, so don't try and look for it. But in the process of transferring it over to a private document, I read back through them, and I'm not sharing one of those tonight, but I'm sharing something that I made of all of that. This is Take My Mind. Take my mind off of me. Make of it what you wish. Remove it from its dirty home and scrub it until it is pure. Lay my witless body to rest. I'm tired of ruining myself, so can you ruin me instead? Deform me until there's nothing left to worship. I would love it if you could just take my mind off of me.
Thank you, Tino. Another brave round of applause for Tino, who didn't realize he was sharing his compositions there with his parents. If you followed the New York Jets for a long time, is this a sports crowd? Football, anybody? All right, all right. Our next guest might be somebody you know. Hank Bjorklund was a running back for 3 seasons with the team from 1972 to 1974. I think Joe Willie Namath was still playing for the Jets back then. Hank is also now a retired business lawyer and educator and has written a book of poems and essays. Hank, your book is called Head Hits I Remember, My Brain Dysautonomia and Football. Tell us about your path from football to poetry writing. Hank, come on up. Watch your step, okay? Hank, what is dysautonomia?
Dysautonomia is a fancy word for disorders of the autonomic nervous system, neurodegenerative diseases. Anything from Parkinson's to things you've never heard of, like supranuclear palsy or multiple system atrophy. And when I collapsed in a gym in 2016, I went from a gym rat to a wheelchair. And I had several what they call FDG PET scans, which showed significant lack of glucose uptake in my brain. And based on those scans, they hypothesized some pretty serious neurodegenerative diseases, none of which I have because I wouldn't be here, right, literally, if I had them. What we think now is that I have some form of atypical CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I played 16 years total of tackle football, started as a 9-year-old. And, you know, it's not concussions that cause CTE. It's the number of hits and the velocity. And I have so many former teammates that have died already and ultimately found to have CTE because you can't diagnose it in living people.
Right.
It's only, I don't want to say, I've pledged my brain. I haven't donated it yet. I hope it's not for a long time. But they are finding that a certain percentage of people ultimately who have been found to have it express only with neurological symptoms. And I do have some form of dysautonomia. You know, as I'm standing here now, I'm not really totally in homeostasis. There's always something going on. But so many of my former teammates have died, and
Right.
it's often accompanied by a neurodegenerative disease like supranuclear palsy or Parkinson's. I don't know how many football fans there are, but Rich Castor recently died. He was a
Right.
tight end. He had Parkinson's. I recently attended the birthday party of Emerson Boozer, who was a hero, and
Right.
when the Jets won the Super Bowl, he's suffering from a dementia. Dave Herman, who was an all-pro guard, is dead, found to have CTE. There were 7 members of the Miami Dolphins who I think they were the only NFL team to be undefeated from exhibition right through the Super Bowl.
Right.
7 of those guys died within 18 months of each other, all found to have advanced CTE.
I have to say this, Hank, as you describe this and the impact of a very physical sport, it sounds to me, and I believe the audience would agree, that it's amazing that A, you're here tonight, and B, you have your mental faculties to do what you do.
Well, thank you. That's why it's atypical, because the major symptoms of CTE are significant lack of cognitive abilities, as well as behavior and mood problems. I mean, Aaron Hernandez,
Right.
for example, found to have, at the age of 27, advanced CTE. I mean, he murdered several people. Fortunately, and my wife can attest, I do not have significant behavioral problems. I will say I operated for years as a lawyer. I also was a teacher and coach. My executive function is not what it used to be. But I'm still here, and I'm grateful for every day. And she's the reason.
Well, Hank,
We've only been married 52 years, so.
fantastic. Hank, we are glad you're here, and we're excited to hear your poetry once again. The stage is yours.
Well, thank you. This is the poem that I read in 2021, and I wrote it as an expression of gratitude on a day when my brain condition was acute. It's called This Day. Cool and windy is this day. Whitecaps break across the bay. Sun sparkles on shimmering leaves. The air is fresh on sea-blown breeze. Spring is here. Winter's gone. Crocuses sprout around the lawn. Scent of change is in the air. Flowers bloom where dirt was bare. I want to feel my feet in earth and run so hard my lungs could burst. I want to leap and jump so high. I believe that I can fly. I embrace this day with all my being, with open heart and with my face beaming. In this day, I will only thrive. I'm just so grateful to be alive. This is a poem from my book, and it shows that you can write a poem in any format that speaks to you. It's a letter that I wrote to Fear, and it's called Dear Fear. This is what you call a Dear John letter. Yes, I'm breaking up with you, throwing you out on the street, changing all the locks, bolting all the windows and doors. In other words, I'm severing all ties, cutting all connections. I want you out of my life. Oh, now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you'll work your way back into the house of my head, just like you've done in the past. But you should know that I've found somebody new. Somebody who'll stand by me. Her name is Courage, and we'll be waiting. Sincerely yours, Hank Bjorklund.
That was great, Hank. Another hand for Hank. What a brave story. Wow. And now I get to introduce someone really special to us here at Morning Edition. Some longtime listeners may remember our former producer, Shamita Basu. Shamita used to come on Morning Edition with some regularity, and in fact, she was once the person who headed up our Poetry Month coverage from 2018 to 2020. We are so happy she's joining us tonight. Shamita, come on up.
I'm over here, Mike.
There you are.
Hey. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
You are.
Hi, guys. Gosh, it's nice to see everyone. I want you to remember what it was like in April of 2020. This next poet wrote to us during the pandemic, and Poetry Month came just a few weeks into this very, very scary time. It was unprecedented, it was unknowable, and frankly, it was quite joyless. It was a scary time in this city. And here at WNYC, we were making radio all of a sudden from our homes, and it was disjointed, and we felt apart. It was so hard. What we do best here is be in our communities, and we couldn't do that. And to be honest with you, the first week of April rolled around, and we were not thinking about Poetry Month. And it wasn't until a poet from our community, Sophia Jama, actually, I don't know if she happens to be here tonight, but she wrote an email to me a couple of days into April that year and said, is there a poetry challenge coming this year? Because I'm ready for it. And we realized, you know what, I think people actually really need the poetry challenge this year. We need to do it. So that's the year that we came up with different prompts every week and got so many responses back. And it was really a lovely and special time. I went on the air with our late Morning Edition host, Richard Hake, whose name I just want to say out loud on this stage tonight, Richard Hake, who would have loved that this event is happening, would have loved it. But I went on the air with Richard and delivered one prompt one week. It was the first prompt of our Poetry Month that year. The prompt was, what a difference a month makes. And we got back many wonderful, wonderful poems, but there was one that really just blew us away. And I want to call up that poet now. Mark Schulte, will you join me on the stage? Now, Mark, I'm going to read a little biographical information for you.
Okay.
Mark has been an actor, a carpenter, a teacher, and a poet for 6 decades and counting. He's a high school teacher licensed in theater and special education, and he rhymes sometimes under the name MC Sun, usually on the train or out in the street. Mark, I thought you might want to say a little bit about this poem that you wrote. I mean, we're a few years out. You have a little distance from it. You want to tell us about it?
Sure, yeah. This was, like Shamita just said, in the very beginning of the pandemic, and this actually came as a PS on the end of an email I sent you, and it just came out.
Yeah.
like with all the rhymes and everything in it. It was just one of those, I'm a vessel here. My folks, who are now both gone, were both here then. And I'm going to try to get through it without turning into a puddle. But,
Me too.
yeah.
Do you want to say their names out loud?
Oh, yes. Their names are Melvin August Schulte and Doris Anna Kiffmeyer Schulte. Thank you. Thank you. That's really sweet.
The stage is yours, Mark.
Thank you. This poem's called The Row-Row, or What a Month a Difference Makes, for pandemia dyslexics or maybe my dad. I used to argue in my mind with Eliot and his muddy line about April being the cruelest month. After all, don't November and February call for cold consideration? But this April? This culling by drowning in your own blood April? This viral dying alone April? This false flattening April uncured and uncurved? This invisible droplet murderer? This isolation at all costs, a dozen eggs killing the nice lady at the grocery store April? This skin-cracked, soapy-handed, masked-up month of shameful breaths stolen outside with refrigerated trucks out back of ERs, drive-through testing, and us behind bars in our own apartments? But I love you, Dad, as you lose your mind from 2,000 miles and 6 feet away. I know you're sad, quarantined in the condo with Mom on lockdown, and I, too, am too low now for not seeing you or the cherry that's hung with blossom on the bough. Another poet's creeping in. To quote 3 such writers is a literary sin. But white tents replicate like a virus, like spores. Everyone's afraid to go in stores while my colleagues, struggling to breathe, empty their own lungs at home with incentive spirometers. I'm hurting. Smile. What's not about this April? While in my head I'm way too sad to sing. Instead, bring something for Easter from the kitchen to the hallway. And in a small way, we need celebrate a reborning. Heed the CDC warning to keep it together by keeping us apart. The weather's preternaturally wet and cold. I start to rhyme in vain anyway, as my bride of old says rain, resignedly. April showers bring May horrors is what we don't say. But we do not cry or bow down now to the king of desolation crowning this verse as the siren of another hearse wails past the windows of our sliver of Broadway. Oh, so empty now. The loneliest of cities just became more lonely somehow because of the corona. Insta-kids be calling it the Row-Row. A tiny, unseeable, wicked witch, which, to misquote yet a colder poet, with apologies in my defense, this virus has made all the difference. No, old Tom wrote no calendrical mistakes. April, what a month a difference makes.
Wow. Another hand for Mark Schulte. Joining us next is another young guest, 10-year-old Caden Hearn from Harlem. He stole the show last year at Governor Kathy Hochul's inauguration ceremony and earned a standing ovation from the crowd while on his tippy toes. Caden Hearn. Caden, I'm curious, how did you get an invitation to the governor's inauguration?
Well, I was going to Apollo Theater, and people were saying they had a special guest. And when she walked out, it was the governor. And I just wanted to take a picture with her, so I got that picture, and she asked me, what did I do? Did I read books? Did I, like normal questions? I said I wrote and recited poems. And she said, let me hear one in my ear. and I said one, and then she said, if I become New York State governor, you'll be the next poet laureate. And that's how, yeah.
Now, you know I have to ask, what did you whisper in her ear?
My poem.
If you can tell us.
My poem. In my mind, I used to be a child of poverty, not knowing that hopes and dreams can become reality. In my mind, I thought it was fine to sit in the back of the classroom because my teacher never asked me to read or write. But little did she know I was ever so bright. In my mind, I couldn't understand why they used to call me ashy and black. I always heard being black, living near the railroad track, those are the things that would hold you back. But now I understand why they used to call me ashy and black. Black is the color of my skin, so soft, beautiful, silky, and smooth. In my mind, I used to hear my grandma cry. On her knees, bowing down, shouting, thank you, Lord, for blessing this house. Her cries brought tears to my eyes. Grandma's cries was thanking God for all his blessings, but now I understand why. In my mind, I used to hear my ancestors cry. They helped clear the path so others do not have to die. Justice and peace, oh Father, please help me. And that's what I heard in my mind.
Years old. Another hand for Kate. Wow. Our next performer brings poetry to a whole nother level. Odyssey grew up in D.C., but lives here in New York City right now. He's a rapper, producer, and his work has been featured by Time Magazine, Rolling Stone, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, among many other outlets, including 2 NPR Tiny Desk performances. We're so glad to have Odyssey in the house tonight.
I'm not sure how deserving I am to close this beautiful evening, but I will say that without poetry coming first, there may be no hip-hop, so that's appropriate for me to go in this order. How you guys doing? Good, good, good. As he said, my name is Odyssey. My real name is Amir Abdelmonem Abdelwahab Khalif Muhammad. My father is from Sudan. My mother is African-American. I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. And somehow I ended up in New York City. I don't even know how that happened. But we're here now. I'm going to do a couple songs for y'all. The first song is entitled Lifting Shadows, and it is a song that I wrote while touring Europe during the first wave of a migration crisis from North Africa and the Middle East, and it kind of details what I witnessed while being on the road and how it made me feel. And then the second song is to make sure that we don't all leave depressed. And we'll do some crowd participation as well. Everybody, you can hear me clear? Cool? All right, since it's poetry, I don't want to play the music really loud, right? Because I don't feel like I want to make y'all look up out of your seat. So we're just going to play it low, and I'll just recite some words over it. Cool? All right, play a song. Yeah. I have a lot of talking time because there's an intro on here. So yeah, I'm a Pisces. I like long walks in the park. I'm a father of 2. My son Safwan is 2 years old, and my daughter Zaina is 6. She's currently grounded right now. She was talking in class, and I got a call about it. Let me do something here. Just $1 below 10K. That's the amount I'm flying with. One more buck till the law comes out and y'all wanna know about why I'm rich. I'm not rich, I'm just on the way back to the land where they need this grip. You give yours to a charity fund, I give mine to a cuz that's sick. You see your name and it fall on the list. Kid, I'm involved in the cause and the pain. Lost somebody you loved in the towers and looking at me like I boarded the plane. I'm just the artist, you not a target. No use in arguing, all of the same. With that knowledge, I stay calm. Search for a bomb, all you find is grain. All in the name, I got a name that is scared of the brave, but the land of the free. All in the name of protecting the country that's shooting its citizens dead in the streets. I used to live in Northeast DC, not too far from Capitol Hill. White House here, Trap House there. They were so near you could go by feet. Never mind that, cause that's not news. Let's stay glued to the war on peace. Who get blamed? Whoever can sway that election tour with the orders seek. We just wanna keep oil cheap. We just wanna keep motive full. What that mean? Distractions came. Thank our TV's clothed in wool. Man, I swear I think my phone tap. Man, I swear they watching all my moves. Since 9/11 ain't too clear just who that target is. I love my country, hate its politics. Can't just let me be, can't just let me live. Regardless my belief, I thought our fathers wrote that clear. But darkness all I see, and darkness all I hear. I'm trying to lift that shadow, but that cloud ain't got no give. Why can't you let me be? Why can't you let me live? Regardless my belief, I thought our fathers wrote that clear. But darkness all I see, and darkness all I hear. I'm trying to lift that shadow, but that cloud ain't got no give. Listen, I was on tour when the migrants came. Saw their camps on side of the road. I met a boy who arrived in the rain. Lost his folks when they torched his home. That made me want to bring my fam before they see that side of a drone. Who wants us? We build your world. Labor cool? Neighbors no. I got a cousin to drive your taxi. I got a cousin to cook your food. I got a cousin to watch our kids, pick them up when they done with school. I got a cousin to pump your gas. I got a cousin that's good with tools. I got a cousin to be our doctor. After a test, I hope she passed. Isn't that what you fear most? But fear don't trump your needs. Our pros do trump our cons though, and cons don't trump your greed. And monsters what you make of us, but we make you succeed. And that's what make our country great. It's built by those who bleed. It's built by those who came on boats. It's built by those who flee. And you forgot your family tree. We just saw your leaves. And if you try to chop us down, you only hurt your knees. And we could go in pieces. We'd rather come in peace. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, growing up in the DC area and having a mixed ethnicity was a very interesting thing because it's very monolithic where I'm from. Anybody know what Prince George's County, Maryland is? Oh, you do? Wow, that's crazy. Okay. It is the wealthiest concentration of black people in the United States of America, but also home to one of the largest economic gaps between rich and poor, right? Very polarizing place that I come from, but very much responsible for the content of my writing. This next song is called That's Love. I need some crowd participation if that's cool with y'all. All right, very, very simple, 2 words, that's love. I need y'all to have rhythm though, cool? We good? Yeah, we all right? We can try, right? Roll the track. You can play this one just a bit louder for me. I'll play it and then I'll see if y'all got some rhythm and then we'll run it back. Okay, so I need you to do this. Just say that's love like this. That's love. Why am I not here?
That's love.
Yeah. And you go like this.
That's love.
All right, hurry up before they forget. Run it back.
That's love.
All right, come on. You guys ready? Just making sure. Come on, y'all lagging. Yo, you ready? When you told me the truth, even if it really hurts, cause you knew what I was worth.
That's love.
When you let me borrow money that you didn't really have, cause you knew what I was worth.
That's love.
When I was at my worst, you would tell me I would blow when I thought that I would burst.
That's love.
Told me how to help others, and through that discovered how to put myself first. And here we are again, just confronting fears, whether pain or gain is a bunch of tears. Blessed once a kid probably disappeared when smoke starts to clear, their positions near. Attention to the folks who were fanning the flames, cause they the ones that matter most in the gravity game. The snakes pull you down, but they stay around to pick up pieces of you off the ground. That's
That's love. That's love. That's love.
I said, y'all said, y'all ready? Hey, 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 that's love. That's love. That's love. And that's love. And that's love. Say what? That's love. And that's love. And that's love. And that's love. See, when you were giving me advice that the son never took, but your head never shook. Both knowing you were right, never shook a left and right, just gave me that look. When I had to learn the hard way, but you would let me fall, never did it out of spite. Determined never burn a bridge. If you breathe it in, you neither rather river or brook. And here we are again at a crossing path. Darwin's a friendship, strongest lasted. Our strength lies to the first thoughts to laugh at them things that bring most hurt hearts to clash. Far past the board to beat, browse and brawl. Passive, pettiness, blame games and all. Had a few deals, time out to chill. But knowing when you need space means you feel with.
That's love. That's love. That's love.
Great music, man. Try to tell us that we don't really need it anymore. It's just $1 million at the bottom of a bottle of a pot, never cheated it before. So you started with the I don't need it, all I need is money. You could give it to me, but you never get it from me. Yeah, you refuse to play, but you were still in the game. You like it or not, let me explain. See, there's the rough kind, the too much kind, the rather rough kind, and the abrupt kind, the go nuts kind, hold up kind. Know what, maybe we should take it slow kind. When you know kind, and started off as friends, then over time again it's show kind. And if we love each other, we'll do worse than better. Gotta go kind, that's love. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.
That was good. Thank you, brother. That was great. Give it up for Odyssey again. Great. Well, that's it this evening. We want to thank you so much for participating in what we call this experiment. This is our first time we've done Poetry Live night, and I hope that we do it again next year. An extra big thanks to all of our performers, to Shamita, to the Greene Space crew, Jennifer Keeney Sendro, Ryan Wild, Ricardo Fernandez, Irene Trudell, Eric Weber, James Cronier, Melissa Bowley, Kayla Masters, and to LaFontaine Oliver, our president and CEO of New York Public Radio. And thank you to all of you who came this evening to participate in this experiment. And again, a special thank you to Amanda Rosone for this brilliant idea. Thank you. Thank you all. Be safe and keep watching NBC. Thank you.